of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both.
Makes sense? This is exactly what I was saying. Krishna convinces Arjuna that the relatives that you're talking about as far as the body are concerned changes, so they are not the body. And the soul, they are actually the soul, and the soul doesn't die. So it just changes body. So now talking about the different properties that the Bhagavad Gita yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So, before we discuss, the soul is driver of the body, right? So, when a person does any criminal activity, so is that the soul doing that activity, or is that the body doing activity?
The soul is doing that through the body, not the body on its own. The body on its own is dead matter. Imagine the body without the spirit soul. Cannot do anything. It is the spirit soul who does it through the body. Now the next question is, this spirit soul is pure.
Exactly, sir.
I know. The next question is, this spirit soul is pure. So how can this spirit soul do such an activity? Spirit soul is pure, but the consciousness of the spirit soul is covered. Like for example, the water when it falls from the clouds, it's pure. But as soon as it touches mud, it becomes impure, the same water. So similarly, the spirit soul is pure. As soon as it comes in this material world, it gets in touch with material consciousness. So in this circumstance of the material consciousness, the spirit soul takes that activity. Innate nature, no. But because it is contaminated, the consciousness is contaminated, just like the water is contaminated here. So the consciousness which is covering the spirit soul is contaminated. And because of that contaminated consciousness, the spirit soul takes that decision. Why? Because of uncontrolled mind. Now, towards the end of this session, we are going to discuss how to protect that also. Does that answer it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's why, every soul is pure, but it's the surrounding which is imbibing everything on the soul.
Perfect.
And that's why few souls are good, few souls are evil.
Sanskar.
So,
Kind
your
of sanskar,
surrounding.
yeah.
Your
Yes.
parents, your friends.
The soul is always pure, Satchitananda Vigraha, because we will establish this in the next session, that how the spirit soul is part and parcel of Krishna. So now if that spirit soul is part and parcel of Krishna, and because Krishna is all pure, the spirit soul has to be all pure, and it is. But because it is covered with the materialistic consciousness, what do you mean by materialistic consciousness? The soul is covered with this tendency of I. In its pure state, Krishna, it is you. But in the covered state, it's only me. Pure love towards Krishna gets covered, becomes lust. Pure charity towards Krishna gets covered, becomes greed. So all the good qualities and the innate nature get reflected, and in a forward fashion. What I can give away towards Krishna, now because the consciousness is covered, I start taking that for myself. And now, because that greed increases so much, if I can get something by killing XYZ, let me do it because I'm just concerned by taking it. So the spirit soul, now because of uncontrolled mind and contaminated consciousness, takes an evil step. But by nature, the spirit soul is pure. Does that answer? So these are different qualities of the spirit soul that the Bhagavad Gita talks about. Can we quickly read it? Indestructible.
Indestructible.
What does that mean?
Cannot be destroyed.
Cannot be destroyed. Why does Krishna say this? Why does Krishna say the soul is indestructible?
Because they are talking about destruction now, about the war and the destruction.
He establishes first that the relatives that you are talking about are spirit soul. And those relatives who are spirit soul cannot be destroyed. He says, Nainam chindanti shastrani nayanam dahati pavaka. The spirit soul cannot be burnt by fire, cannot be moistened by water, cannot be withered by the wind, cannot be cut by weapons. Now again, why does he say these four things? Because at that time you had Brahmastra, which had heat. So by your Brahmastra, the soul cannot be burnt. You have your swords, the soul cannot be cut. The body falls down, but the soul goes to another world. Yes? The second is immeasurable. What do you mean by that? Soul being immeasurable.
cannot measure, you cannot
Quantify.
count.
I mean, you cannot quantify or measure or.
You
make it
cannot
estimate.
measure it. Yes? Is it big? Is it small? What are your ideas on the size of the soul? Very, very small. Okay. Very, very small. Fine. Does anybody think something else?
It's a
Feel free.
flame. It's a flame inside.
Oh, small spark. Okay. Anyone else? So does that mean that the size of the soul for an ant is the same as the size of the soul for an elephant?
Yes.
Possible.
Okay. So does that mean the size of the body doesn't matter? Absolutely. Yes. If that spirit soul enters the biggest body is given birth. And if that spirit soul, same size, enters the smallest body, still that body is given birth. Make sense? So sometimes people think, elephant है रे, बड़ा soul होगा. Elephant and microbe, it's the same soul. People aren't even able to see paramesha, वो soul क्या देखेगा? Soul is completely spiritual. Completely spiritual, and it has no matter absolutely. Matter can be seen, occupies space, has volume. Spirit or spiritual, it's a different dynamic, different, substance altogether. And the laws that exist for matter are different that of spirit. We say, matter दिखता है, तो soul भी दिखना चाहिए. They don't work like that. In the same world, we find hydrodynamics, aerodynamics, thermodynamics, सब अलग-अलग laws आएगा. Classical mechanics, quantum mechanics, same physics, but different laws altogether. So similarly, how do we expect matter and spirit to have same laws? So spirit soul, the scriptures describe, you know how small it is? You take the tip of the hair, you take one strand of hair. किसका भी हो, छोटा हो, बड़ा हो, you take one strand of hair, take the tip of that hair. Now cut that into 10,000 parts. The tip of the hair, cut that into 10,000 parts. And the size of one such part is the size of the spirit. Kesha Agra. Kesha means hair, Agra means end. Shata Shata Bhaga. You divide into 100 parts, take one part, divide again into 100 parts, which means 10,000. And one particle, 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair is the size of the spirit. Now the question could be, if it is spiritual, how can the example be material? The answer is, because we cannot be given a spiritual example, because idea nahi hai kaisa hoga. So just to give a rough estimate, this is how it goes.
Just one question, like,
Yeah.
so has Krishna anywhere talked about the size, particularly the way you mentioned about
Yeah.
10,000 as quantity?
Yeah. This Krishna nahi, but this is given in the, if I'm not wrong, I think in the Vishnu Purana. This is the verse where it goes. Keshagra Shata Shata. What else? Eternal. Why does it say eternal?
Everlasting.
अरे वो है ना इधर नीचे, वो चुराओ मत ऐसे. That's another quality. Eternal or everlasting. Okay. What does that mean? The fact that even when you change bodies, the spiritual exists always. Unborn and unslain. Unslain that we have already seen. Invisible also we have seen. Immutable also we have seen. Unborn. What does unborn mean? The spirit soul doesn't have death, which means it doesn't have birth. There was never a time the spirit soul came into existence. Always exists. Part of Krishna. Always exists. Eternal. Amar. When people say Amar Rahe, hum hai Amar. People have their names as Amar, which means immortality. We all are Amar. We fear death, no? All of us fear death. Why? Because that's not our nature. Our nature is to always exist. But forcefully Mother Nature says you have to die. तो डर लगता है. And because we are always youthful, we are scared of old age. We are born, we cry. Why? Because again taking birth is not our nature. We always cry for things that is not our nature. Whenever there is suffering, we cry. Why? Because happiness is our nature. This spirit soul is everlasting, unborn, uncut, eternal state of happiness. Yes? So, Bhagavad Gita, there are, in fact, at the end of the class, I'll give you different reading assignments that you have to go and read. These are different verses from the Bhagavad Gita. and we have just compiled all the properties together from the verses. Can you read this verse, please? Just the
As a
English?
person puts on a new garments, giving up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts the new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grannati naro parani. Krishna says, just like you're changing clothes every day. Do we cry? मेरा favorite teacher. क्या है? उठा के फेंक दिया. Old t-shirt, new t-shirt. Old jeans, new jeans. The person still remains the same. We are the same. So similarly, we still remain the same. We give up one body, accept another body. This is the point that I was saying. Nainam chindanti shastrani. It cannot be cut, cannot be moistened. Alright. Now quickly coming to this point of now let's go beyond the spirit soul. What else exists within? Is it just the body and the spirit soul? There are three coverings. Be attentive. I'm going to ask you questions. There are going to be three coverings. One is called the gross covering, which is the covering that we see. You know, legs, hands. जो सब दिखता है वो gross. Then you have the second, subtle body. Subtle body मतलब things which exist but you can't see. Mind, intelligence, ego, जो बहुत है हमें उसको बहुत ego है. अरे किसने देखा है? दिखता है ना? By the activities. So these are things you can't see directly, but you can perceive. And finally, the spirit soul. So the spirit soul we discussed. Material body is there. Now let's discuss the subtle body. What are the things in that? This is the example that Bhagavad Gita gives. We have a chariot. We have a person who's sitting. We have a person who's the driver. You have the reins, and you have the 5 horses. Now all of us can practically see this in our life. The 5 senses. What are the 5 senses? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. Yes? अच्छा खाना मिलेगा उधर भागो. मस्त गाना है सुनो. The senses take us everywhere, right? So therefore they are compared to the horses. The horses run. Now who's ideally supposed to control the horses? The reins. That is the mind. The mind should control the senses. Okay, now you go. Now you shouldn't go. And who controls this mind? Intelligence. What is the difference between mind and intelligence? Mind has all the thoughts. जो भी देखा, जो भी सुना, whatever you see, whatever you taste, touch, everything the mind has. It's like a jukebox. The mind has everything. It is intelligence who says, this is right, do this. This is wrong, don't do this. This is correct, do this. This is wrong, don't do this. Therefore, a truly intelligent person is not who gets good academic scores. Is he who takes the right decisions. Yes? So the person, the soul is like the actual person. Then the chariot is the body. Intelligence is supposed to be strong and that controls the mind. Mind will throw different thoughts. Pav Bhaji, Pani Puri, this movie, exams tomorrow, bahar ghumne jate. Let's go out. But the intelligence says, wait, hold on, everything has a time. I know you want to go, but later. If the intelligence properly controls the mind will properly control the senses. We discussed this, that death is when the soul leaves the body and that's by the way, Dhirubhai Ambani.
The body of Dhirubhai.
The body. They're taking the body. So, life is a journey and death is an examination. The problem is we don't know when that examination is going to be. It's a surprise test. It's not like those surprise tests that teachers give in India. Guys, tomorrow we're going to have surprise test. There's no surprise. Get prepared, kal subaha surprise test. Death comes knock knock anytime. And why is it called an examination? What does it test? Can somebody read this please?
Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
मरते समय जो भी सोचेंगे वही बनेंगे. At the time of death, whatever you think, that you will become.
This is the ice cream shloka
This-
that you tell us.
Imagine. Yeah, this is the ice cream shloka that I always say. Yum yum, vapi smaranam bhava. This is the ice cream. So what's the thing about this thing? Whatever you think at the time of death, you become. What is the good about it? What is the bad about it? Or how do you see it? How do you see this source? Practical क्या है application? How does it affect? What happens if we think of our dog while dying?
When I heard this shloka for the very first time, for a very long time I kept on thinking that this is a kind of a suffering that God has kind of managed to have for the living beings. Because it's like, there are many such examples, like at the end, at the very last death, if a person who is best attached to, he starts thinking of that object or that person or that thought, and then he has to take the birth of that person, like the same species. So I was like, this is a suffering, I mean, come on. I was just attached to it and I didn't really intend to get into that body or that kind of a species. Why am I getting that kind of birth? Slowly I realized this is an arrangement made by God that, see, you desire to have that. So let me give you an arrangement so that you can go ahead and experience it yourself.
The reason is death is so painful. Garud Puran explains the pain of death is 40,000 scorpions biting at the same time. Not mosquitoes. Scorpions. You know how they bite. It's very painful. So if you are able to think of something at that painful state, how much you love it. The previous verse Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, immortal. Antakale cha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. If somebody remembers me at the time of death, I give you a guarantee, he will never again take birth in this material world. He will come back to me forever. That is exactly the aim of this human life. This human life is to break once and for all this cycle of birth and death. No more birth. We don't want to enter any other womb again. You enter a womb, stay in that cramped situation for 9 months, pass urine and stool, tear itself, and your body is not even formed properly. Your mother eats a lot of spice. You're burning within. You can't even say anything. And because there is urine, stool, mucus, blood, everything, pus around, there are microbes which bite your body, and this, because the skin is not made properly, pinches and hurts you. That's the reason the child cries. So much of pain. Birth, death, old age and disease are very painful. And if you are born, you will surely die, you will surely grow old, and you will be diseased. So the thing is, we have to escape birth again. Rebirth, nahi chahiye. No more rebirth. Imagine, I am talking about a human being. Imagine the risk of getting into an animal form now, animal body, so to speak. The soul enters a dog's body, next life for example. Okay, enters a cow's body. If you are in India, you are worshipped. If you are in the US, you are butchered. If you are in a cow's body, they don't ask you, do you want to get butchered? No, you will be butchered. You will be slaughtered. No option. Ducks, yes. Pigs, yes. Any species. Birds, yes. Chickens, oh yes. Goat, yes. Sheep, yes. Rabbits, yes. Turtle, yes. Snakes, these days, yes. People kill humans cheaply. There's so much of pain and suffering in this world. We have to aim. Human life is given labdhva sudurlabhamidam bahusambhavante manushya maratadam anityam apihadira. This human form is the rarest of the rarest opportunity. And the aim is to break this cycle of birth and death. go back to Krishna. Nothing else. Nothing else. We have always been like a bird in an entrapped cage. Human life means the door of that cage is open. The foolish bird goes and picks a tarot card and comes back into the cage. Don't do that. Don't do your daily duty of picking your tarot card and come back into this prison, this cage. Fly. Break this cycle of birth and death once and for all. And how you do it? Krishna is giving this formula of remembering Krishna at the time of death. Now you have to ask, how do you remember Krishna at the time of death? That's why you have to train your mind. If you chant Hare Krishna from today onwards every single day, we still have around good 50 years to die, supposedly. We don't know when it's going to come, but assuming. We chant Hare Krishna every single day. We do our duty also, we do our job, we are in family life. We chant Hare Krishna, we read about Krishna every single day. And we slowly get attached to Krishna. That at the time of death, even in that pain, we remember Krishna. Acha, now what happens if we do all this and we don't remember Krishna at the time of death? Krishna says, Vatadi yadi doshena mad bhakta na smaret aham smarami mad bhakto nayamam paramam gati. If my devotee chants so much and doesn't remember me at the time of death, I remember him and catch his hand and take him back. Whether you remember him or no, if you practice all through your life, Krishna will take care. Why think about things which are not in your hand? Whether I will be able to remember or no, that's not in your hand. What you do with your present, that is in your hand. Kulashekara, the great Acharya, he prays to Mukunda, Krishna. He says, please ensure, you will know when I die. Ensure that my mind focuses on you. Or kuch nahi chahiye. You find big saints. They never had money. They never had women. They never had houses. They never had food. They were so satisfied. What were they doing? Why were they giving up everything and what were they doing? They were giving up everything because they didn't want any of this. किसी के साथ attachment चाहिए ही नहीं. We just want to be attached to Krishna. That is the purpose. The aim of human life is only to get attached to Krishna. Why? So that we remember Krishna at the time of death. This chanting of Hare Krishna, hearing of Krishna's message, and remembering Krishna, worshipping Krishna, offering food to Krishna, taking that food as prasad, all of this help. Krishna in the spiritual world is saying, all these souls are attempting to remember me. Tathastha. That is what we want. What is the use of having 3 crores and 5 crores and $10 million and dying and becoming a hog next week? Kya gain kiya? What have you gained? Money? Well, you comforted your body. What about your spirit soul? You forgot to save it. Before decorating our house, we have to ensure that we are decorated. In the sense that before our body is given so much of opulence, we have to ensure our soul is given comfort. You do bhajan for Krishna where the soul is satisfied, then you take care of the body, no problem. But don't just live for your body and forsake your spirit soul. Does all that make sense? Yes? So what's the aim of our life? What's the
from the prison.
Get out of this prison. Come what will. No more birth. अगले पीढ़ी में मेरे परिवार में जन्म लेना है. Don't think anything like this. गलती से. I want to be like this next life. Don't think like that. Only thing I want, go back home, back to Krishna. Nothing else. For going back to Krishna, I have to remember Krishna at the time of death. To remember Krishna at the time of death, I have to chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare. If you chant from your heart, then that would mean that you're convincing me that yes, you also want to go back to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare. So how do you, so we spoke about the fact that the intelligence is the decision maker and the mind is the storehouse of all of that. And those are the 5 senses. Nature of the mind. If it is controlled, it is our best friend. If it is not controlled, it is our greatest enemy. The mind is neither good or bad. Just like the knife is not good or bad. If you are using it for a surgery, the knife is good. If you are using it for a murder, the knife is bad. So if the mind you are using to prove that God doesn't exist, it's like Krishna giving you a gift through which you can remember Him, but using that gift you are throwing back. Just like Shishupal, he went to Krishna and he told Krishna that I want your Sudarshan Chakra. So Krishna said, why do you want it? Shishupal said, I want to see, I want to have that feel. Krishna said, but why? Shishupal said, I want to see that feel and I want to use that against you and kill you. Greatest quality of a Rakshasa, ungratefulness. So this mind is, we have to properly use it so that we remember Krishna. Therefore, we have something called as the mantra meditation. Mana means mind, tra means deliverance. So that process through which our mind is delivered from this world is mantra. This Dr. Benson says that by the repetition of a prayer or chanting, you find that the blood pressure, too much of high blood pressure falls, blood flow is stabilized, heart and breathing rates decrease, overall metabolism of the body slows down remarkably. And that's the relaxation response, what the scientists say. It also gives us freedom from stress. Alright, so wrapping up, few techniques of how to manage or control our mind. First and foremost, identify places where you're wasting your time. Places where the mind is just getting lost. Like for example, you clearly identify that if I'm doing this, I'm going to really go nowhere. Like people have bad addictions, for example. Smoking, drinking. I was speaking in one of the universities and I still remember the face of that student. He was so honest that when I was speaking about this and I asked somebody who wants to share anything, he put his hand up. And he spoke about the point of how he was so addicted to smoking. Everybody told him that the packet actually says it is going to give you cancer. But because the addiction is there, the mind says, go, smoke. The intelligence says, well, I understand. But the mind says, nahi chahiye. So therefore, control the mind means first and foremost, take it away from places where you are wasting. Second, where do you keep it? Engage it in positive. Negative se nikalo, positive mein dalo. Some people say, negative se nikalo. Arey, but kidhar to dalna hoga na? You have to engage your mind somewhere. Some people say, don't think of anything. You should be thoughtless. I say that the state of thoughtless is also a thought. So don't think of negative things, think of positive things like Krishna. When you have to remember Krishna, why not hear about Krishna? Why not read the Bhagavad Gita? So every day, start with 10 minutes. Zyada nahi. 10 minutes, read Bhagavad Gita. Chant one round, 108 times Hare Krishna Mahamantra and 10 minutes of Bhagavad Gita. That's it. Don't do anything else at the moment. Start this practice. Tell me what you feel next week. All of you? Sure? The theory will not help. The theory is there only so that I convince you to the practical. So we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 108 times. You can count on your fingers and you can do it. It will take you 7 to 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes of Bhagavad Gita reading. Hua kitna? 20 minutes. Out of 24 hours, I am folding my hands and requesting you to engage your mind for 20 minutes. You see what magic it creates. And if you do it in the morning, you will see the whole day goes so peaceful. I've never had a day like this. Your boss says, "Acha, kuch problem hai, baith ja aaram se." No, aisa nahi hoga. Don't think so much of miracle, but even if even if there are problems in office, you will, okay, that's okay. You're not going to get really agitated. This meditation will really help you. And as I was saying, the third step is, engage in some thought-provoking wisdom. The Bhagavad Gita teaches a person how to train one's life so that he perfects in this life. No more future work. This life 10%, next life 10%, kuch nahi. 100%. No more birth, right? Why do we want to enter another birth? Another womb, another body. God knows we'll be a pigeon next life, for example. The eggs really stink, so we don't want to be pigeons. We don't want to have any form. Yes, we don't want this human form. We want to remember Krishna at the time of death and go back. So the quick last minute ABCDE for you to take home is A is association. What does association mean?
Company.
Every Friday evening, Nishchit roop se yahan. For for sure, guaranteed you have to be here. I mean, I'm just saying that's association. Second is books. Bhagavad Gita for now. C is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra 108 times as we have prescribed. D is diet, which is Krishna Prasad, which I'll come to next class, slowly. And E is etiquette. Etiquette means you do your duty and at the same time you're a good human being, so on and so forth. So in that way, that's the ABCDE. Let's have a quick check. What is A for? B for? C for? D for diet, and E is etiquette. So remember this ABCDE, and let's meet you next Friday on that. Yes. Any questions or comments? You had a question. What was that? 100 lives. Okay. So the point is, you transmigrate. Last week we were talking about 8.4 million species. So you transmigrate every species, not just once, multiple times. And after doing all of this, going up towards the pyramid, you get the first human. So those who are human beings now have taken minimum 84 lakh bodies before this. Minimum. That's on the lower end, I'm saying. One time Krishna was sitting with Rukmini in Dwaraka, and there was an ant, small ant, which was chewing a piece of sugar. Krishna was looking at that ant and he started laughing. Rukmini said, what is there to laugh? Ant is eating sugar, usme hasne ko kya? What is there to laugh in? Krishna said, this living entity has become Indra 28 times and now again has become an ant chewing that sugar. So it's possible that not just, okay, you're confused about how you become Indra, you can become Indra as well. You can become the demigods as well. Not just lower forms, you can go up also.
Promotion.
What?
Promotion.
Promotion, definitely. We all love promotion, right? You can become Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, you can all become that. How? Curiosity till next class. I'm going to discuss all that next class. So till now, you understand that you can take many, many births. The 100, there's no count.
No, the question was, it takes multiple lives to get a human body. The soul
Yes.
human body. So how is it possible to remember the 85 lakh past human body? The person. I mean,
So
the-
here, it was not that she's taking the first human form. It's possible that you have taken many human births also.
Yes, but to take one human form, you have to pass through 85 lakhs.
Yes.
So it is possible to remember the past memory of the human body, which is like 85 lakhs behind.
Not necessary, na, ki your past will be, not necessary that your last human birth ke baad you have taken 84 lakh animals and then again a human. Not necessary. What I'm saying is, oh, by the way, it's not that between two births you take 84 lakh. No. You evolve from plant life, aquatic, birds, animals, insects, and then you become human. Not that between humans you have, no. You have to go up the ladder and then you become a human. You can again take multiple humans, or if you waste that human form, you come down again. It's like subsidy, snakes and ladders. So we don't want to be stuck at 99, which is the human form, and take that big snake which comes down. We want to jump to 100, which is remembering Krishna. And we do that by loudly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So therefore Prabhupada said chant and be happy. Does that make sense? Yes? Any questions or comments? Yes.
experience or out of body experience, does this mean that our soul is going and coming back for
Yes.
a second?
Yes. Yes. That's exactly what I was saying. The soul leaves the body, observes the body and comes back. So therefore, during these experiences, you will find fluctuation in body parameters.
Why
All
does
these,
the soul enter the same body again?
why it does,
Soul, it's out of the body and now it enters the same body.
why it enters the same
Yeah.
body. The soul has to enter a body which is ready. Like for example, if your body, this life, is destined to be 70 years and the out of body is at 35, now it doesn't have a ready body next, except for this body. The next body is ready by the laws of nature only at the end of this body. So at the age of 70, if the soul leaves, then the next body is awaited. So therefore it doesn't come back to the original body, because the original body is like broken house. It has a better house to go. Why will it enter a broken house?
So why did it come out of the body in the first place?
Yeah, so as far as out of body is concerned, the main aim of that example was to say that the soul comes out. Why it comes out and when it comes out is out of context as far as this discussion is concerned. All that I was making the point is that the soul leaves the body. So it's if you say soul doesn't exist, how do you explain this scientifically? So I was making this point that what is the person who is the observer is actually the soul seeing the body. That's all I was making. That's the point.
Can the soul enter a body which already has a soul?
Good question. Answer is yes.
Split
Answer is
personality.
yes. Not split personality. Split personality is it's a mental disorder. But as far as two souls in the same body, possible. You have many times. How many of you all have seen Bhool Bhulaiya? Dekha? Yeah. This is exactly what the point is. Now the point is, Bhoot exists. Do ghosts exist? The answer is yes. And how do you describe them? The description is, there are different reasons how ghosts are formed or how they are, but one common reason is through suicide. Suicide. When you destroy your body, suicide. You commit suicide. So, the same example. You're supposed to live for 70 years. I voluntarily terminate my body at the age of 35. Now the soul doesn't have a body for the next 35 years. Now please note, this soul feels hungry, feels thirsty, feels sleepy, but doesn't have the senses to procure them. So
That's
therefore
where it
tries
is.
to enter the body. So that living in your body, you are eating but the soul is getting. The scriptures say those who chant Hare Krishna, the soul, these souls will not even hover around thinking I'll enter. Duri rehta hai. So by chanting Hare Krishna or the names of God, they are so powerful. Bhagavan Nama Mangalam. The names of God are all auspicious. So that's the answer. So they enter and you could have multiple souls in the same body. But not very common. Krishna makes in such a way that Krishna gives all of us studio apartments. Khud jiyo, aaram se. Live one per house. No sharing. But sometimes people just knock and say, "Main bhi rehta hai. Chal, for some time I'll also get in." Temporary. Overnight stay and morning jao. Not permanent. So Krishna arranges in such a way, he's so merciful that the souls are so wicked in our tendencies, but still Krishna gives, we live individually one house each. Be happy. Do bhajan. Yes.
I have one question. Like, I mean,
I'm so happy to have so many questions, and
Maybe-
this is how it is. Wow.
Maybe this is not directly related with soul or maybe the today's discussion, but
Go ahead.
in general, like, I mean, throughout Bhagavad Gita, or we are considering Krishna as the top of everything.
Yes.
Or rather, he's the one which is the kind of nucleus we are saying. I just had read somewhere, maybe in some of the mythology, that when there was nothing, the first entity, probably you can say, was Lord Shiva. And it was said that he then created probably two creatures. The first one was Vishnu and the other one Brahma. And they were offered with certain duties that Brahma would be creating, Vishnu would be maintaining, and then later on Shiva will again destroy.
Where did you read this?
I don't remember exactly where it was, but I had read it somewhere. And and even that their origination, like these two later on after their creation, they themselves tried to find out the beginning and the end of the Shivas, but they could not get it.
Okay.
So whom should we really consider the top of the pyramid?
Okay, so I'll just quickly answer this point, but I'll not go at great depth because this is our next session. Please be there for next session. Next session is, does God exist? And if He exists, who He is? I'm going to discuss all the names. Ganpati, Shiva, Brahma, Indra, Krishna, Vishnu, Ramachandra, Narasimha, all of this. So I'll just quickly address that so that you're satisfied. Well, I can say I'm not going to address that and I'm going to keep it next week so that you come. But let's do that. According to the Srimad Bhagavatam and also the scriptures, if you see, Shiva is called as Rudra because he came from between the eyebrows of Brahma. There are 3 reasons why he is called Rudra. One reason is because you can make him angry very easily. The second is because as soon as he was born, he started crying. And the third is because he came from between the eyebrows of Brahma. It's given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Where did Brahma come from? He is called as Padma Yonihi because he came from the lotus which came from the navel of Vishnu. And where did Vishnu come from? The scriptures describe Vishnu as Amara Nirjara Deva Stridhasha Vibhudasura. Somebody who is eternal, somebody who has no beginning, and somebody else. So Krishna and Vishnu. So even at the point now, if you are still confused, no problem. I am just trying to superficially scratch your lottery card and give you. But आगे वो lottery का number I'll give you next week. Yes, great. Any more questions?
We're running short of time.
Yeah, what to do? But I'm really happy the fact that we had so many. Everybody was awake today. Kumbhakarna didn't act on anyone. That's good. Did I tell you the story of Kumbhakarna? Yes, I told you. First class? Okay. So I'm happy you all are not disciples of Maya Devi.
I wanted to, you skipped through the slide and there was one slide about the 6 sins. If you have some time, can you talk about it?
Can we do it offline so that we save some time and we can have prasadam?
Yeah, in the prasadam,
Yeah?
we can do that. We can talk about it during
Yes.
prasadam.
I heard there is the existence of horoscopes.
Horoscope, okay.
In some time they are saying that if these planets comes into some
इसको कुछ ऑटोमेटिक लगाना चाहिए जैसे जो बात करता है ना तो ऑटो
this is their last birth. But you are saying that the soul is going to be existent. So how it is that correct?
Influence of horoscope on the soul.
These two things are contradictory. I mean, they are saying that this is their last birth.
So when you say something is your last birth, doesn't mean the soul doesn't exist after that.
No,
It
I
just,
don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah. So the point is, when you say this is your last birth, means this is the last time the spirit soul is going to take a body. The spirit soul still continues to exist. It exists in the spiritual world.
So does that mean that it is not going to enter again in the human body?
Perfect. That's the point. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Natad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yatad gatva nivartante tad dhamam param. Once you go back to Krishna, you will never again fall into this material. So when you say, I want to make this my last birth, doesn't mean you have to kill the soul. The soul continues to exist. This is the last time you want to accept a body, which means you want to go to Krishna. And once you go to Krishna, Krishna gives this guarantee in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. He says, once you come back to me, never again you will go down. So last birth means you continue.
It means the horoscope is controlling.
That will take offline because that is little deviant. In fact, I can talk about horoscope in the 5th session because I'm going to talk about karma. So at that time, I'll take astrology and horoscope. वो angle तभी देखेंगे. Huh? We'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's meet up next Friday. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Do you want to do the ending kirtan like for 5 minutes? Just for 5 minutes?
Why not? Why
Just
not?
ending kirtan.
Do you want to chant Mataji? Mataji will do kirtan, but you all have to promise that all that we have heard, that we have to chant Hare Krishna and be attached to Krishna. Now is the time to do practical. When she's singing last time, nobody was repeating. Don't do that. Yes? Okay.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, everybody, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna